A test screening is when you show your yet-to-be-released movie to a group of available-in-the-day people, making note of their ill-informed and asinine opinions, with the intention of recognising what the general audience reaction to your movie will be, and possibly using that information to scramble to fix things. Bit cynical today. Most media products or media content, if I can utter such phrases without my jowls turning to stone, go through some sort of screening process. That might be as simple as handing a manuscript to a loved one and asking who their favourite character is, Princess Leatherhelm, Mickey Trolley, or Professor Nasty. This sort of consultation process, whether it is with members of the general public, other creative artists, or technical experts, probably appears in every artistic field, and many non-artistic ones too, to varying extents. Those extents might range in formality, from having a chat with a friend about an idea, to broad and deliberate market research using questionnaires or even Q&As. Silent-era comedian and entertainer Harold Lloyd, seen here as a member of an undead barbershop quartet, is often credited with inventing the concepts of test screenings and getting audience reaction information from previews. Whether the concept came entirely from Lloyd or not, he certainly relied on test screenings throughout the 20s and beyond. Grandma's Boy from 1922 apparently had a disappointing early showing that prompted Lloyd to beef the film up with more gags and I guess maybe less grandma. The practice of test screenings, in some capacity or another, might have existed some time before even this, but certainly was more widely adopted in the following 10 years, especially by Lloyd. For the film Speedy, Lloyd used a kind of laughometer. He would measure heartbeat and record the audience's vocal response to screenings, identifying weak or slow spots in his movies and editing them accordingly. Since then, test screenings have become a regular, expected thing that most movies, especially studio movies, go through. I think even small films made by people who might affectionately be called passionate amateurs, or less affectionately called self-obsessed narcissists who won't be told, probably go through some sort of test screening. Professional test screenings often consist of hundreds of people watching a movie and then answering questions about the movie and their reactions to it, or even rounds of questions. Obviously that costs a lot of money and isn't available to every movie, but I think even the lowest budgeted B-movie has a form of test screening. Maybe Tommy Wiseau didn't listen to people saying his film needed more running in the woods and less of Christopher Walken's elder brother, but I think even the producers of the lowest budgeted films probably have a screening with at least a handful of people and keep those people's suggestions in mind when making their next or final edit. Test screenings, I think, can be broken down into serving two purposes, but those purposes go hand in hand. So, one purpose. The first is fixing micro problems. Does what this character doing read? By read, I mean can we, as an audience who doesn't really know them, ascertain what they're doing and why? Does the music work? Is this part funny? Should we strip away the exposition? Is Jar Jar criminally underused? Sunset Boulevard is a great example of what I'm talking about. It's a noir that I'd characterise as a psychological thriller or even horror, about a nobody screenwriter, Joe Gillis, who gets involved with a silent-era has-been.
Well, in the end, he got himself a pool. Only the price turned out to be a little high.
The film opens with Gillis dead in a pool. The original cut then had a narration delivered by corpses in a morgue, who essentially sat up and recorded their story. To the horror of director Billy Wilder, test audiences burst out laughing at this moment. In response, Wilder cut much of his first reel, and lengthened and fiddled with some of the voiceover narration, eliminating any chance of a funny moment that would have no doubt ruined the movie's establishing tone had it remained. In Jaws, Roy Scheider's famous line was originally straight after the sudden appearance of the titular shark. Test screenings found people reacted to the shark's appearance loudly or in surprise, and because of that they missed Scheider's funny line.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
These problems, of people laughing when the scene is meant to be serious or reacting and missing a following line, are important problems, but they're easy to fix and really they're details. Aside from things like this, and usually much bigger in scope, test screenings aim to fix narrative problems, or things that are perceived as problems, i.e. the audience change the whole movie. Audiences at test screenings of 28 Days Later reacted negatively to the intended ending, where the protagonist dies. A more optimistic ending was created in response, which is more than a superficial change. This sort of alteration no doubt changes the film's final tone, and if it has one, its meaning. Lol, studio movies don't have meanings, but even if a movie is made with no intended meaning or message, it still has a meaning inferred by the audience. Body Snatchers' remake The Invasion from 2007 was originally filmed with an ambiguous ending, where the survival of a young, immune character was unknown. Warner Brothers didn't like the cut in general, and brought on the directors of The Matrix, the Wachowskis, who, amongst other things, added a twist ending. In this way, I wonder if test screenings undermine artistic integrity. It's one thing to have test screenings that are intended to identify problems, identify slow bits or bits the audience don't get, or help to market the film and understand how to do that. But it's very different, I think, when test screenings start to change the endings of films, because the endings are intrinsically linked to the meaning of a film. When you change the meaning of a film, perhaps completely, does it stop being about artistic vision or even story and just become a product? This isn't a question exclusive to test screenings and is by no means new. Pretty Woman's script was famously far bleaker and less happy than the film it became. It was deliberately changed, as the vast majority of studio scripts are, to better suit a certain audience, to better encourage ticket sales, to become more bankable. Does that mean test screenings should be abandoned and filmmakers should plough on with their film without opinion from the outside world? No, but I do respect people going with their gut or, pretension blockers engage, their artistic vision. If a creator is willing to completely change their movie because of test screenings, in my opinion that means the movie was always a commercial product first, which is fine, or that the artistic reasoning behind original choices are a bit dubious. Artistic innovation doesn't come from 67% of Joe Punter saying the second act needs to be less boring. What I mean is if you have a very serious film that test audiences say could do with some lighter moments, it's probably not unreasonable to put some lighter moments in that film. But if you have a very serious film that you change and turn on its head into an Adam Sandler film because that's what test audiences prefer, then why not have done the market research before you made the film and just do what the market research says? I'd personally argue a film should be drastically changed at the script planning and writing stage, not after it's been shot and disconnected business people who all have their own ideas start wondering how on earth they're going to market it. I think test screenings, just like anything else, are a powerful tool in a director's and producer's arsenal. Like reshoots, or using famous actors, or the score, they can be used to enhance tone, and to enhance the story and make a better film. But on the flip side, they can also be used to make a more marketable film, regardless of making a better film. It's also worth noting that test screenings are usually used to make the film more commercially appealing, but they can be wrong. Orion Pictures held a test screening for Weird Al vehicle UHF, which received high praise from test audiences, but it took in only $6 million on a $5 million budget, proving that sample sizes are important, but perhaps also suggesting that how you market and package a film is more important than whether or not it's good. I'm glad that I can still spin these videos into having happy endings. Thanks very much for joining me. Next time I'll be talking about why some movie twists don't work. See you then.